I'm Sheila. It's been 2 weeks since the police escorted Ryan out of the apartment, and my life has finally found a new rhythm. I'm sitting in my new place, the air filled with the faint smell of fresh paint, and I can't help but reflect on the storm that just passed. The other day, I ran into Ryan at a bar near my new home. He was tipsy, looking smaller and less confident than I'd ever seen him. He tried to fist bump me and slurred, "Hey, no hard feelings, right?" I looked at him, not with anger but with a sense of distance. "No hard feelings. You did me a favor," I said. He laughed, thinking I was joking. Then he added, Lily tried to get me to fund her wellness project, too. Said we could be mindful partners." I just smiled and walked away. As I did, a feeling of peace settled in my chest. But it wasn't always this way. Let me take you back to the beginning. I was living with Ryan for 8 months. He was from a well-to-do family. His parents, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, were wealthy and used to getting their way. Mr. Thompson was a successful businessman, always busy with his work and expecting Ryan to follow in his footsteps. Mrs. Thompson was a socialite, more concerned with appearances than anything else. One evening, the living room smelled of microwave popcorn, and a show played softly on the TV. I was half curled on the couch, scrolling through my phone, trying to ignore my tiredness. Ryan came out of the bedroom with that rehearsed look on his face. He stood right in front of the TV and said, "I need to talk to you about something serious." His tone was so grave that my stomach dropped. I muted the TV and asked, "Okay, what's going on?" He inhaled slowly and said, "I'm going on a self-discovery trip." I was stunned. "A trip? For how long?" I asked. 2 weeks, he replied. It wasn't a weekend getaway or a night at a friend's place. 2 weeks is a long time, a time when people either come back changed or don't come back at all. "Where?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's a wellness retreat," he said, his eyes lighting up like he was enjoying the act of being a spiritual seeker. I watched him closely. He was standing too straight, his hands clasped in front of him like a student giving a presentation, and he couldn't meet my eyes for more than a second. "Who are you going with?" I asked. He said the name Lily. Lily was Ryan's college ex. He had always described her as the one who truly understood his creativity. Her photos still haunted his social media, like a ghost he never fully exorcised. I'd seen her face before, a confident smile and a kind of beauty that commanded attention. I repeated, "With Lily. Just you and her." His jaw tightened for a moment, then he softened his face. "Don't make this awkward. It's not about her. We're just friends. She's dealing with her own stuff, and we found a retreat with a group rate," he said. "A group rate for 2? I asked. He laughed, as if I'd made a silly joke. "Yeah, 2 spots opened up at the last minute. It's not like that." I'd learned a lot about Ryan in the 8 months we'd lived together. If I got emotional, he'd call me dramatic. If I got quiet, he'd call me cold. If I asked questions, he'd say I was controlling. So, I forced my face into a neutral expression and asked, "When do you leave?" "Tuesday morning," he said. "That's soon, but it's perfect, spontaneous, like life is opening up," he added, stepping closer and lowering his voice. I studied him. He didn't look guilty, he looked excited. Not excited about the retreat itself, but excited about getting to do what he wanted without consequences. I realized then that this wasn't just a trip, it was a test. A test to see how much I'd tolerate, how small I'd make myself to keep him comfortable. I picked up my water bottle, took a slow sip, and said softly, "That sounds wonderful." His eyebrows jumped. "Really?" "Yeah," I said even more gently. "If you need to find yourself, who am I to stand in your way?" He looked suspicious at first, then relief washed over him. He smiled too widely and kissed my forehead, like I was a well-behaved pet. This is why I adore you. You're so enlightened, he said. Over the next 3 days, Ryan transformed into a man preparing for a new life. He bought expensive, neutral-toned athleisure wear, the kind people wear to look spiritual without breaking a sweat. He filled the kitchen counter with supplements and electrolyte packets. He talked about energy alignment while leaving dirty dishes in the sink. He didn't notice how quiet I'd become, or maybe he just liked it that way. At night, while he scrolled through retreat schedules and playlists titled Inner Peace, I lay beside him, staring at the ceiling, listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator. My heart ached, but I knew I had to make a decision. Every time he asked if I was okay with it, I'd say, of course. Go find yourself. On Tuesday morning, I drove him to the airport. The sky was pale and washed out, as if even the sunrise couldn't be bothered to be colorful. Ryan was buzzing with excitement. He tapped his knee the whole way and checked his phone every 2 minutes. Not once did he say he'd miss me, or ask if I was sure I was okay. At the drop-off lane, he hugged me quickly, like I was an obligation. I'll have spotty service, so don't worry if I don't message much, he said. No worries. Enjoy your journey, I replied. He grinned, grabbed his bag, and walked away without looking back. As soon as he disappeared into the crowd, I knew what I had to do. I drove straight to a moving company. I didn't cry in a Starbucks bathroom, call my best friend for permission to be upset, or have a dramatic confrontation. I'd already done the emotional part. I'd spent months feeling the imbalance in our relationship. He called my boundaries controlling, talked about freedom while relying on my stability, and acted like I should be grateful he'd chosen me when all he wanted was comfort. When I walked into the moving company, the receptionist barely looked up. Can I help you? She asked. Yes, I need a move scheduled today, I said. She blinked. Today? I'll pay extra, I said, and that got her attention. While she typed, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Ryan, boarding now. So proud of us for being evolved. I stared at it for a moment, then slid my phone face down on the counter and signed the papers. Ryan didn't know that his name was never on the lease. He'd moved in 8 months ago, assuming he belonged there because I'd never said otherwise. I'd meant to add him at first, thinking it was romantic, but there was always an excuse. In the end, I was glad I hadn't because legally, the apartment was mine, and most of the furniture was mine too. 3 days before, while Ryan was at a trendy wellness cafe cleansing his spirit, I'd signed a new lease. I didn't make the decision impulsively. I'd decided slowly, over time. I decided when he made jokes about my corporate job while using my credit card for groceries. I decided when he started saying I was lucky to have a man who valued growth. I decided when Lily's name came up too often in his stories. And I decided completely when he said, "Don't make this awkward." On Monday, I'd toured an apartment across town. It was in a quieter building, with better security and new plumbing. The landlord was proud to tell me about the amazing water pressure. I signed the lease that afternoon, paid the deposit, and arranged for an immediate move. Now, with Ryan in the air, I stood in the middle of the living room, taking inventory of what was mine. I packed with a discipline that surprised me. I wrapped my dishes, boxed my books, and labeled my kitchen appliances. I unplugged the TV I'd bought on Black Friday and paid off by myself. By noon, 2 movers arrived. They were big guys with calm faces, the kind who'd seen people leave others behind before. Everything going? One of them asked, glancing around. Not everything, just mine, I replied. They nodded, understanding perfectly. We moved for 2 days. Each trip down the elevator and into the truck felt like an exhale, like I was reclaiming space inside my chest. I gathered Ryan's belongings carefully, folding his clothes neatly, stacking his shoes by the entryway, and putting his toiletries in a plastic bin. I placed his random half-finished business notebooks in a box labeled Ryan and arranged everything in the living room as evidence, so he couldn't claim I'd stolen from him. By the time the last box left the apartment, it was dusk. I stood in the empty bedroom and listened to the silence. It didn't feel lonely, it felt clean. I left the utilities on, not because he deserved comfort, but because I refused to be the villain he wanted me to be. The last thing I did was write a note. I sat at the kitchen counter with a pen, looking at a blank sheet of paper. What do you write to someone who thinks you're an accessory? I wrote a verdict instead. Ryan, I embarked on my own self-discovery. I realized I deserve better. Your belongings are in the living room. The lease ends in 3 weeks. Contact the landlord. He's expecting you to either sign a new lease or move out. I found myself, and that doesn't include you. Best wishes with your growth. I placed the note on the kitchen counter where he always dropped his keys. Then I walked out of the apartment for the last time, taking a long exhale in the hallway before the door clicked shut behind me. In my new apartment, I stood in the center of the empty living room, surrounded by boxes. The windows were larger, and the air smelled of fresh paint and possibility. For the first time in months, I felt like my life belonged to me again. I blocked Ryan's number, but I knew he wouldn't give up easily. Sure enough, the next afternoon, my laptop chimed. It was an email from Ryan. The subject line was, "What is this?" I knew he was back, and he wasn't alone. The first email was short and accusatory, "What is this? I came back early because the retreat was a disaster. And you're gone. This isn't funny. Sheila, where are you?" I read it twice, then closed my laptop without replying. I was learning that silence was the only language Ryan couldn't manipulate. 5 minutes later, another email arrived. The landlord says I have to sign a new lease. I can't afford this place alone. This feels manipulative, like you're trying to control me. There it was, that word control that he loved to use when things didn't go his way. I called my neighbor, Tom. He still lived in my old building. He'd helped me carry boxes once when the elevator was broken and remembered Ryan's name. "Hey," he said when he picked up. "Everything okay? I need details. Has Ryan been back?" I asked. There was a pause, then a low whistle. "Oh, yeah, he's back." My chest tightened. "How bad?" "Bad enough that everyone on your floor knows your name now," he said. He went on to tell me that Ryan showed up late Wednesday night, furious and slamming doors. And he wasn't alone. Lily was with him, carrying a tote bag and acting like she lived there. I also found out that Lily was on the phone with her current boyfriend, Mark. She was crying, accusing Ryan of spying and yelling about social media. Mark had found out about the retreat through photos on social media. Ryan was pacing, talking about how I'd abandoned him and stolen the apartment. I pressed my lips together. Stolen was an interesting choice of words for something that legally and financially belonged to me. More emails came in, each one more frantic than the last. Lily thought I was being emotionally abusive, and I couldn't just disappear when things got hard. Then I got a call from Mrs. Thompson. "How could you do this to my son? He's devastated. He came home expecting a partner, not an eviction notice," she snapped. I waited until the message ended and called her back. "Mrs. Thompson, nice to hear from you," I said. "Don't get sarcastic with me." "Ryan is practically homeless," she barked. "He's not homeless. His belongings are safe. He has 3 weeks to decide whether to sign a lease or move out," I replied calmly. "You're cruel, all because you're jealous of his bond with Lily," she said. I said evenly, "Your son went on a 2-week retreat alone with his ex-girlfriend." Then he said I was fine with it. I was so fine that I decided to find my own peace somewhere else. She hissed, "You're small-minded." "Okay, bye, Mrs. Thompson," I said and hung up. That night, I got notifications about password reset attempts on my streaming accounts from an unknown location. I laughed at the audacity and reset all my passwords. Then I got a text from an unknown number. Ryan wants to know why you're being so petty about the streaming accounts. He's having a breakdown. I typed back, a breakdown over Hulu. Suggest some breathing exercises, and blocked the number. I thought that would be the end of it, but I was wrong. On Friday afternoon, after my workout, I walked out of the gym and saw Ryan leaning against a car in the parking lot. Lily was standing a few feet behind him, arms crossed, wearing sunglasses. Sheila, we need to talk, Ryan called. I didn't slow down. You can't just ignore me. We were together for 3 years, he said, jogging to catch up. 8 months, living together, I corrected, unlocking my car. The emotional bond was 3 years, he shot back. I looked at him and asked, what does that even mean? He reached for my arm, and I stepped back. Don't, I said quietly. Lily cleared her throat. You're being dramatic. I laughed. Of course, you'd know. Ryan exhaled sharply. Look, I get that you're upset, but nothing happened. Great. So, you just meditated romantically, I replied. Lily rolled her eyes. We did yoga. We shared feelings. Enchanting. What's the problem now? I asked. Ryan's voice dropped. I need a place to live. So find one, I said. I can't afford anything. You know I'm between jobs, he snapped. Between jobs for 6 months, between ambitions, between realities. That's not my problem anymore, I replied. Lily stepped forward. If you ever cared about him, you'd help. I did care. Then he went on a retreat with you, I said. She scoffed. You're just intimidated by our bond. I smiled. Your bond lasted 5 days. That's not destiny. That's a short vacation. Ryan's face flushed. You don't get it. Neither do you. You're not even living together, I said. That's when the truth came out. Lily had been telling people, including Mrs. Thompson, that she'd offered Ryan a place to stay, but she hadn't. She was couch surfing because Mark had kicked her out. I opened my car door and drove away, watching them in my rearview mirror. They were 2 people who'd mistaken chaos for connection, now stranded together with nothing but their lies. But Ryan still didn't give up. On Saturday morning, he showed up at my new place with a moving truck. He was with Mrs. Thompson, his younger brother Jake, Lily, and his friend Sarah from his half-baked consulting venture. Mrs. Thompson was ringing the doorbell non-stop. I watched them through the smart door camera. Finally, I spoke through the intercom. What do you want? Mrs. Thompson jumped. You need to come outside right now. This has gone far enough, she snapped. No, it really hasn't, I replied calmly. Ryan stepped forward, trying to look charming. Sheila, we just want to talk. You brought a moving truck. That tells me everything, I said. Jake cut in, arms crossed. You're ruining his life over your pride. I laughed quietly. His life isn't ruined. He's just facing consequences. Lily scoffed. This is so unnecessary. You mean like going on a 2-week retreat with someone else's boyfriend? I asked, tilting my head. Sarah stepped closer to the camera, palms raised. Let's not attack each other. Vibrationally speaking, this is really low energy. I smiled. You know what's low energy? Showing up uninvited to my home with a crowd. Ryan's face tightened. You can't just shut me out like this. I can, and I am, I replied. Mrs. Thompson leaned toward the camera, eyes blazing. You need to step up and take responsibility. I already did. I moved out, I said. That's not responsibility. That's running away, she hissed. No, that's choosing myself, I corrected. I could see the blame bouncing between them. Ryan snapped and walked up to the door, trying the handle. Don't. If you touch that door again, I'm calling the police, I said sharply. He froze. Mrs. Thompson gasped. You wouldn't. I absolutely would, and I'm documenting everything, I replied. That word documenting changed the air. Ryan stepped back, and Mrs. Thompson grabbed his arm. Jake swore under his breath. Within minutes, they retreated, muttering and glaring. But the drama didn't end there. That night, I got an email from Ryan with the subject line business opportunity. He was pitching me an investment, 10% equity in his Mindful consulting brand, asking for exactly 3 months' rent from the old apartment. The business plan was only 2 sentences long. I forwarded the email to Tom, and his reply came back quickly. Is he serious? I didn't answer because Sunday morning brought more trouble. My phone was vibrating non-stop with texts.